to the Gulf Coast. Welcome to the Gulf Coast. Welcome to the Gulf Coast.
Welcome, guys, to the Gulf Coast Music Podcast. Today's new wave, Justin Fobes.
Hi.
And how are we addressing the band?
Well, this is Cliff McClure over here, and this is
Kane Cooper.
Kane Cooper.
Fantastic. What are you guys going to call this band?
I was thinking about the foreskin of the cockrocalypse.
That's great.
I'm really enjoying that one.
I'm kidding.
It's a little too mainstream.
Yeah,
little too mainstream.
not enough, not niche enough.
Yeah.
I did have an idea. How about Cupid, not the arrow?
Cupid, not the arrow.
Didn't you do, what was it, the goat band?
Oh yeah, we did the goat band, which was the Gulf of America tribute band. Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. That's pretty funny.
That's smart. Now, how many different collectives have you been in throughout your career?
Mine,
Right.
all of them.
Do we have time for that?
I mean, yeah, I've been at it for a long time. I think I started playing in bands back in the '80s, and then and I never have stopped.
Yeah.
So when I say bands, I mean like. Unfortunately, around here, if you stay down on the coast, there's not as much consistent work,
Right.
and so people don't have it become a part of their salaried life.
Right.
And so they'll float in and out, and they'll go pick. We can play together for a few months, and then I got this other job over here, like our friend Avion Wright, who's playing in Rome tonight instead of on Dawkins Street at the Brickyard with us.
Lame.
So, yeah, lame. Yeah, but we wind up having a lot of and I like it.
Right.
I really love getting because I always learn something new from somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
But we often have, and I'm not the only one. But like, how many sub gigs have you done this week?
Played almost every day this week, like 5 out of 7
Same
days.
act every time.
Or the last week. No, multiple. Well, like three different.
Exactly.
I was gonna
That's-
say,
that's-
Yeah. So that
You too, huh?
on
the two
that
gigs
topic.
I have this week are
Yeah.
strictly me being in fill-ins. I mean, I have one group, me and him playing the Portersville Bay Band. That's like our little cover group.
Yeah.
But all in all, I make all of my money filling spaces where people don't stay at most of the time. So
And what they don't. I mean, it's just the consistency of work is such around here that you can work and you can work consistently, but just not with the same entity. You've got to be able to be kind of a jack of all trades.
yeah, I will say almost every bigger name around here never has the same guitar player, the same drummer, the same bass player every week. There's plenty of people who are around here, me including myself, like playing with his other group because his drummer's not going to be there. And,
Right.
and I have 2 gigs next week that'll be pickups from people, that are
Wow.
rotating people.
Is it tough to schedule because of that?
I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I just went through. It took me a long time to finally arrive at a system, but I have finally gotten my schedule down to where
Let's hear the secret.
I have. Well, it's about jumping on the update to the schedule immediately as soon as you find out about it, before you pull over,
Right.
before you get to the rest stop, before you get home, anything. You've got to jump on it right then, because by the time you get there, you'll have had 2 more dates come in, or at least I do, and then you've got to schedule those in your calendar as well.
Right.
And so you've got to put them down like right away. 'Cause
Gotcha. 'Cause it's easy to forget.
It's so easy to forget.
Yeah, I
easily.
mean,
And it's
Especially-
exciting when you
especially
get the
him.
gig, it's exciting. You're like, oh, great, I'm going to go play at Coastal in Orange Beach. That's a wonderful venue. I can't wait to do it. And by the time I get there, I'm like,
And then Coastal calls you up that night.
yeah. And I'm like, I'm in the wrong city. But, and you're excited when you do it. But if you don't write it down right away, or not write it down, but if you don't enter it into your
Yeah, you
calendar
put it
right
in your
away,
calendar immediately.
than you are. You're a
If you
host.
wait, if
you've
you're like, oh, I'll put that in there later
because
tonight, or
because then another great restaurant like Cobalt or somebody is going to ask you to be involved in that, and by the time and now you're doubly happy and you don't remember
Yeah.
which.
last year I got double booked a couple of times because of stuff like that, just stupid stuff. And I'm sure you, because he's the one that gigs the most out of all three of us.
In the
but-
last 5 years, I started to make several mistakes, and I guess I made 4 or 5, and one of them was really, really an eye opener for me and really changed my way of thinking. But like, hey, where are you? I'm like, I'm 3 states away. Like I'm playing a gig. I think I'm doing the right thing by being there. I routed it and everything.
Does it affect that gig at that point?
Oh yeah, I go in like tail between my legs. I can't believe I just ruined everybody's night over there. I love all those people. I can't believe I just ruined it for them.
Are you like me? Like in the beginning of each year, you're like, I'm not doing that again. This year is going to be, and then you try so hard to get them in there, make sure all your dates are lined up, and then invariably you're like, wait, how did this happen? It's like, and then our drummer Byron, he had that actually happen to him on one of the gigs. He double booked himself, and I was like, dude, how did you do that? He's like, I don't even know. It's also got the gig covered, but
it's really easy.
This guy.
It's really easy to double book as well. Like all musicians, some play music. That's their salary. That's their career. I guarantee you, this guy and that guy do the same thing. He teaches music, and on top of that, he's playing gigs Wednesday through Sunday. That's his life. In my position, I work a full-time job on top of music, so like trying to balance the work life and like being able to handle the dates that come in at you. You're like, if you don't, like they said, you have to do it then, because shit, I'll be at work and somebody will tell me I have a gig. If I don't put that on the calendar,
gotta put it right.
I'm SOL, dude.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't let the dogs out. The City of Mobile Animal Shelter has many loving pets ready for a nice home. Whether you're looking for a dog like Snoop or a cat like Doja, the City of Mobile Animal Shelter is where you can find your next friendly companion. They're located at 855 Owen Street, and you can stop by anytime between 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We all need a little bow wow in our lives. Call 251-208-2800 because the City of Mobile Animal Shelter has you covered. That's 251-208-2800. Roof.
Euphoric. Let's change the subject. I can talk about your looks for days.
Take it off your mind. I could do this all the time. I could lay it on the line, and I could drop it on the dime. Let's go.
For 7 years, I've been shedding tattoo tears. Sideliners, urban game on the pop list. Yeah, blessing on all of my haters, that's just what it is. Yeah, to live.
Green team. Bitch, I'm ballin' like West. Lionheart. Rocket in my pocket like West. Bitch, I'm ballin' like Westbrook. Rocket in my pocket like Westbrook. Let my little homie take the shot like Westbrook. Still got them cannons. J. Russell, not Westbrook. Bitch, I'm ballin' like Westbrook.
Because I'll forget about it.
As a teacher, I love to find young musicians like Kane and I'm trying to pull him in to the circle of what me and Justin have been doing for years. Yeah. And,
Cliff and I have been playing together off and on through the 90s,
Absolutely.
I've known you for 30 years.
At least.
Yeah.
And like I say, him and I have a big circle of like what I would call professional pro drummers who are really seasoned.
Who also maintain their calendar.
yeah. But I really love to pull someone like Kane, and Kane is young. He's a little young guy, so I love being able to pull him in and try and get him into this circle, and I just that's a thing that I like because I remember being his age and wanting to work, and you're young, and the older guys like us are like, I don't know if you can handle it, but I know he can handle it, because I played with him.
Right.
And so the thing is to convince guys like Justin, hey, I mean, this is the first gig
Yeah,
he's
like
doing.
this week.
That's incredible.
This week, you know, we had planned on having another drummer, but he's playing in Rome tonight. So
Yeah, Avion.
you know, yeah, and so when Cliff said I got a guy, I'm like, I didn't even ask who he was.
Right.
I was like, great, get him.
And we're like that with each other. When
Yeah.
Justin tells me, like, say, Avion,
Yeah.
he told me about him. He said that guy's like one of the most amazing drummers ever. And I've learned to take his word because we've been doing it for so long. So he knows when I tell him I got a young guy and that I really love that to pull young guys in.
You know,
how do they break in?
I was just talking to my mother about this today. My mother was like, you know, how do you know this drummer is going to be any good? And I said, Cliff said so. That's what I told my mother, you know.
I mean, and it's just for me, I've played with some crazy, amazing drummers throughout my career as a musician. But like I say, that's a big thing as a teacher. I love to bring the young people in.
That's what I've always liked about
Love that.
producing records. You know, I produced
Oh yeah, for young.
not just new or young, but like, you know, maybe somebody has everything together except this one little piece of the puzzle over here. And usually it's about development of the artist. Right. And, you know, they may or may not be young, but, you know, they're still fresh enough to have overlooked a few things. And, you know, from the standpoint of being a producer who produces a product, you know, you've got to come in and help iron out all of those little wrinkles and hang-ups and stuff like that. Sometimes it's songwriting. Sometimes it's picking the right key to sing in for their voice. Sometimes it's, you know, sometimes it's about getting a guitar sound or a drum sound. Sometimes it's about
plugins are a bitch.
Or having the right combination of players to support the project, you know, and people that will jihad well together and can be.
Yeah, 100%. I believe chemistry is super important when writing music.
And you know he's already.
This is awesome.
He's already.
I love this.
He was in a band called Valley Fire, which
Yeah.
was like an amazing band. And they were like, what, 16, 17, 18?
No, the youngest in the group was, I believe, when we first started, was 17.
Yeah.
But we were all 18, 19. I mean, we had plenty of opportunities. We played around here all the time. We got real close to doing other things, but, you know, things happen. People drop out, you know, being young, you know, you don't know what you want to do with your life and you don't know what you're going to do. And, you know, dudes backed out, you know, I backed out because one dude backed out. So it was just like a whole like accoutrement of everybody just kind of falling down the ladder, you know, but it was a fantastic group.
And they already have a full on album.
Yeah, we recorded with Greg DeLuca from the Mulligan Brothers.
Again, one of my favorite drummers.
Yeah, dude, absolutely, man. He's a beast. He's a beast, man.
Amazing person.
He when we went to the studio, man, he you know, I brought brand new cymbals. I paid for all this stuff because we're going to the studio. It was my first time ever recording, and you know,
he really coached you through that.
Dude, he coached me through that production. He like, you know, I brought in my snare drum and he was like, let me give you something else. And he let me play on a $1,000 Black Beauty Ludwig. And I was like, holy shit. And then, you know, we're sitting there and I remember we did our own original version of These Boots Are Made for Walking by Nancy Sinatra. You know, these boots are made for walking. But we did it our own way in like a bluesy rock, like heavy rock blues. And I remember the first thing we did. I did our first pass, and Greg comes on the headphones, and he's like, "Hey, man, what you're doing right there, you need to stop that. That sucks." And I was like,
"Whoa!"
I was like,
Did
you
you
know,
just say that?
I'm 19 years old, and I just got told what I'm doing sucks. That hurt. My feelings were a little hurt,
Yeah.
but you know, I go back and I listen to that song and its first pass, and then I hear what we finished with, and I'm like, man. He changed that entire song. He made it better. And that's the key to a producer and chemistry, you know, like he was just saying all that stuff about like producing and, you know, like having the right people and to do it all. If you have the right producer, you've got a group of guys in the room that are able to listen to somebody and take in info, it really changes the way the album comes out and the way your music's perceived and everything. You can really hear it.
My management style is similar to my producing style, and I can sum it up quickly, and that is that I try to assemble the best team I possibly can, and everybody has their strengths. And then, as a producer, I give them everything they need so that they have nothing else that they need to do the best talented job that they can possibly do.
Justin's good at that. He's
like-
good
it's
at
like,
putting together teams that are like the best, man. Like
It's like Andy
Thanks for
Reid
that.
and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, all
How
right,
many Super Bowls we got?
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, you take $100 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's the same way with the big guys on all the way down to us lowly musicians. You know, it is a management thing. It really is. You know,
And
like,
even management will take chance on rookies. I mean,
And
that's
time,
what the
and
draft is.
not just talent management, but time management too of the talent. You know, and making sure that logistics are all taken care of. You know, like you know. Oh, you broke up with your girlfriend. You need a place to stay. Come on.
like the recording sessions that Justin has come into my studio.
Looking to transform your property into something remarkable? Land Refiners is your trusted, locally owned land services company based right here in Baldwin County, Alabama. Whether it's forestry, mulching, land clearing, tree and debris removal, demolition, grading, or even emergency services, Land Refiners has you covered. They work on both residential and commercial properties, bringing efficiency, professionalism, and results that last. Their team is licensed, insured, and proudly serves Baldwin County, Mobile County, and surrounding areas. At Land Refiners, they don't just move dirt, they build lasting relationships by exceeding expectations every time. Call today or visit landrefiners.com to schedule your free consultation. Land Refiners, local, reliable, refined.
But yeah, he's Justin. I definitely would refer to him as like a team, like just the A team, man. Like,
Thanks for that.
Like, you know, just get her done, man. Like if I needed to get something done and I needed a guitar player and a singer to come in and help do stuff and arrange, I would call him in a just a heartbeat, man. I mean, you know, there's guys that they're gonna come in and they're gonna fiddle around and you're kind of like, okay, you got it, and Justin's like, hey, let's do it, you know. And he's the kind of guy I can bring in, and like we did that session with David White a long time ago, and it's just like,
What do you dedicate that to?
Dedicate it to? Well, I would, if you're asking me what my motivations are, it's again to attain that product. You know, it's got to be a product, and so you know, every so often, you know, we're all friends. We all love each other. You know, we love what we're doing together. You know, let's make it a product.
Right.
You know?
It's like if you really love it that much, you're going to hear my feedback and try to make it something that you love.
Absolutely. I mean, just sitting right there before when we just did that open mic, I mean, immediately you saw him. He told me I was too loud. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I was playing too loud. And that's all. That's what production is. It's like having the guy who has the product, has the mind, has what he has. And, you know, he's got the team with him. And he's going to lead.
And it's not because I don't love what he's doing. I like what he was doing. I wanted to be a part of that too, but if I knew that if I were to get involved at that volume level or at that intensity level, that I would probably blow my voice out.
He'd be drowned out.
You know,
He'd be drowned out.
It's all about performing Brickyard tonight.
It's all about you know, like again, you know, assembling your team and you know, chemistry. It comes back to chemistry. Like, don't get me wrong, I met this dude 3 hours ago.
Yeah, and I'm not here to hurt anybody. I want us to love each other and do good.
Yeah.
You know, and what I really want is after it's over with, I want us all to be like high-fiving going, we did it.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Like,
we
that was
did
the
it
night.
together. That's what I want. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not joking either. That's Justin. That's how Justin is, man. Like, you know, I was watching an interview last night with Vital Information, the band, you know, with Steve Smith, right? The drummer from Journey. And he was saying kind of the same thing. You know, they were interviewing Steve and Janik Gwizdala, who's this ridiculously amazing bass player and the keyboard guy, and like they're all just monsters, you know. Like when I think of musicians, I think of like sitcom TV actors versus movie stars, right? Like Al Pacino or something, Robert De Niro. They have that power, and like Steve Smith is one of those. He's just enigmatic. He's like untouchable. But to watch him talk about, he was talking about what Justin's talking about. He was like, you know, it's more about a vibe to me now in my life. It's not so much did I play it right. It's like, did all of us like achieve?
Yeah, did we achieve the musical nirvana?
He literally talked about it like that. Yeah. And it's just watching him. And I need to send both of y'all that video because his playing is absurd. And then, but the point is when you watch him, you get why he's that incredible because he's not thinking, well, I'm just playing these notes. He's thinking like what you're talking about. It's love. It's like, it's a massive much bigger thought process than am I playing it right?
Yeah.
He's like, are we connecting spiritually?
Yeah, no, 100%.
You know?
Every time I've played with a group or anything, like it makes the night far much enjoyable when we're all on the same page and everybody's enjoying the night that they're doing, regardless if we know the material 100%. Man, if one dude nails it and the other guys can follow and we're all following each other and just really just playing off of each other's energies, that's what makes the night. I could give a damn if I played the song right.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there are certain songs, right? You need to do them justice. Like if you did In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins and you didn't do the drum fill, what the hell are you doing, right? Like that's the whole point of that song. Like everybody loves that part. But like, I could care less if I genuinely nail the songs as long as I'm nailing them. We're all nailing it in the vibe, and like melding, and that's being the melting pot.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because we're going to start the second set with it.
Yeah, but that's Justin, and that's a big thing, and that actually has rubbed off on me since I've kind of come back and we've reconnected and started playing in the past 5 or 6 months. That actually has rubbed off on me because every time I see him, he's like, "Hey, man," and there's a lot of guys that I see on the gig, and they're like, "I'm like, hey," and they're like, "Hey, what's up?" Right. And I'm like, but every time I see this guy, and it doesn't matter, I know there's some days where I know he's having a bad day, but he's like, "Hey man, what's up?" And he just brings, the vibe.
That's a tell of a real man.
And well, absolutely. But it's, it's what we're talking about. It's like you just bring that positivity, and it's.
Do you need sheet music to learn some of your songs? Because some of your songs are like piano based or other instrument based, like the Stevie Wonder song.
Yes and no. If you've got one person like Cliff has a wonderful musical mind, we can very quickly arrive at what the solution is going to be to make it happen without necessarily having to write it down so that somebody has to train their eyes to a page and follow it line by line. Which sometimes you have to do that, but not all the time. Sometimes you can say, "Hey, man, like we arranged this song tonight, 8 bars."
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally sent an MP3 to both of us earlier today. He was like, "Hey, man, I need to learn that, like the thing we did tonight."
No kidding.
No kidding. And
and like I said when we got done, I was like, yeah, I kind of listened to it,
But that goes back to the vibe thing.
Yeah,
but see, that's all you had to do. That's all you had to do was kind of listen to it. Because look, we got a successful take, and we had what 2 rehearsals or 2 prior passes.
And I will say, drums as an instrument when you're learning something is more of like, once you got the initial, where the one is, and you kind of follow like the. Everything has their own little accents or their own little flavors. Every drummer plays different and they do something different. But most of the time, there's only so many beats you can do to things. So, like, if I hear the first 30 seconds of something, I'm like, all right, I can play off of that. And if it changes, I'll open my dynamics. I'll lay back. I'll open up. I'll do something to, complement what's going on. So, having somebody just be like, here's the riff, he was like, keep it down, no problem, got it down. It's like, during the chorus here, you wanted to do this, you wanted 8 bars, yeah, I got that, not a problem. Like, that's the whole thing.
What are the perks that people wouldn't think of when it comes to performing on a boat?
The perks on a boat, well, it does depend on the boat, and it does depend on the performance. Have
you done any cruise boat gigs?
Yes. Okay. I did Jam Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
We went down. I was
on
not
a cruise ship or a boat.
I was not a listed musician on that cruise. I was. They had this open mic night, jam night thing, like every night after all the performances.
You were a spy.
And I played on all those. But we went down to Belize and came back. The benefit to that was it was a massive, like 1,000-foot long, ship that had all kinds of wonderful things happening and people. Wow. Yeah, it was great. Jam Cruise. It's probably one of the most awesome opportunities for people to go on a real, just musical vacation.
So there's like multiple music sources on the boat.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I played.
There'll be about 30 bands.
Remember Tommy Seipel?
I remember Tommy.
Yeah, man.
Tommy took that
like the
cruise
big
gig. Yeah.
Well, he was actually my teacher, and he was like a year or two younger than me.
Yeah.
When we were in high school, and he was teaching me. He was a virtuoso bass player for sure.
Yeah.
And he started doing the cruise boat thing back in the 90s.
I remember
And
he
then-
came off the ship, and I was like, Tommy, and he was buff and cut and had an 8-pack, and I was like, Tommy, you're so tan, and he's like, well, being on a boat is like being in prison.
Yeah, not much to do.
Not much to do except work out.
But he convinced me to do that, and I ended up going and doing a cruise boat, and I got 2 gigs. I was playing in the show band at night and playing in a jazz trio, and that's another thing Justin could tell you about me. I never even wanted to play and do like singer-songwriter stuff. I mean, Justin will tell you, I wanted to be a jazz guy. Like that was what I really wanted to be. I didn't even want to do vocal, but then all the guys like Justin would see me play and they go, oh, please come play with me.
Yeah.
And then as I started playing with them, you know, I was a good player when I was young, but the thing is I got humbled because I would come play with these guys and I would be like, this is way cooler than jazz. Like jazz is awesome.
Yes, it is.
But there, you know, the vocals and the whole thing of singers and songwriters, it's amazing, you know. And so it really pulled me away from doing like jazz stuff.
My dad played in a bunch of heavy rock bands. Like when I was growing up, he played in a band called Singe. They used to pack out Grand Central downtown, like do all types of stuff like that back in the day. But they were mainly a cover band, but it's what I mainly grew up on. So I've kind of stayed in that alternative, heavy rock.
Whenever you hit the table, it makes like a little rumble on the mic. Okay.
Don't hit the table.
Yeah, but I've stayed in that genre. But I get to play I think my least favorite gigs player sometimes the blues. Kind of get bored sometimes,
But it depends on the player.
There's only so many shuffles.
Yeah, there's only so many shuffles I can do in one night and make.
But
them
there's
creative.
only one that matters, and it's Bernard Purdy's shuffle.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Or the Rosanna Shuffle.
Yeah, the Rosanna.
I still can't do the Rosanna Shuffle. I mean, that's what they consider like an advanced technique, and I guess
that's
I'm intermediate.
Bernard Purdy.
Yeah,
That's
it
where
is.
it comes
It's
from.
what's his? I can't remember the drummer's name from Toto.
Oh, yeah. I can't
Jeff
remember.
Picaro. He explained how he came up with the Rosanna Shuffle, and he said he listened to "Fool in the Rain" by Led Zeppelin, right, which is basically the same thing as the Purdy Shuffle,
Right.
And he was like, I was thinking, and then I heard the Purdy Shuffle, and then I heard what John Bonham did, and he was like, what if I just made them the same thing? What if I just put them together? And all birthed Rosanna Shuffle. Wow. And it's one of the most notorious. It's iconic.
Yeah.
Like you hear it and you're like, somebody will be like, "Oh, he's doing the Rosanna Shuffle."
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like one of those like if you learn like how to do it, you're like, "Oh, you're a good drummer." Like he can do the Rosanna Shuffle. He's a good drummer.
You know what I just realized?
Thank you for that.
We need to send AI through this track to get every name that we're dropping in this podcast so that we can hashtag them.
Oh yeah, trust me.
Okay. Yeah. Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Oh yeah. Anytime, one of the clips like find somebody, if they're, I tag everybody and just fingers crossed that they like,
Right.
like somebody will say something about Michael Jackson and hopefully somebody from the estate. Give me your favorite performance ever.
Like that all of us have done individually?
Well,
or-
each one, yeah.
My favorite one ever. So I play the brunch every Sunday at Cobalt, and I've done it every Sunday for 14 years.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
man.
I love it. I mean, I love it. It's like every Sunday I get to go,
Peaceful.
rinse my mind, and it is peaceful. And
Yeah, it's a cool gig.
I can play whatever I want to play. People are lovely there, and
Absolutely.
it's I mean, one day I just on a whim I did 90 minutes straight of just Beatles the whole time, and then
The fact that you could just pull that, like, all right,
Yeah, and he can do that. Not a
Beatles
lot of
for 90
people.
minutes, yeah.
well, when Matt Pugh hired me 14 years ago, I remember I was coming out of the men's room and he said, "Hey, this is your gig if you want it," and it has been, you know. So I would say that is my favorite thing to do is get up early on Sunday morning and drive to Orange Beach and go play a restaurant that seats 550 people and watch dolphins frolic in the beautiful crystal blue water, and we've been voted the best one of the best brunches in the United States
Yeah,
6 years in a
pretty
row
amazing.
while I was playing.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
like,
So it is a wee bit.
yeah, and I get to do whatever I want, man. Like I'll do like Nirvana straight into
Yeah.
Louis Armstrong.
Yeah.
To whatever.
And then
I
the
want,
requests that
you
come
know?
in, people
the
request
requests are
crazy
awesome.
stuff. But he knows it. Like I remember we played over at Glory Bound that time, you and me, and this
yeah.
guy came up towards the end of the gig and asked him to play this super obscure Leonard Cohen. Was it Leonard?
Probably
Or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a crazy, and I was like, you know that song? And he
Yeah.
was like, yeah, just chill, man, I got it. And
Yeah,
he just
yeah.
played it, and they
Yeah.
were like, boom, and they tipped him, and I was like, I don't even want that tip money. You earned it.
Well,
But
I mean,
he knows so many songs. It's
well, I just what happened, and I've got to attribute that again to that same my favorite gig, Cobalt, and that is that I have been afforded the opportunity to play in front of like Glenn, the manager, has heard me play every single Sunday for 14 years straight.
Yeah.
He's got to be insanely tired of hearing me, you know, but he's not. And the reason I think that works is because I'm always wanting to come in with at least 5 new songs every week, you know.
Yeah, that's a big
And that's so
a big
I'm
deal.
constantly researching songs. Like if I were to go into A&R for a giant record label, it's like I've already been doing that for you know.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of my favorite things about it is I do have the opportunity to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it, as long as it's not too loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a mix up. Two of my favorite. I can't really like decide over the just one, but I will say I think it was because it was my first big crowd ever. First show I ever played with my original band out live. We did the South Sounds Music Festival downtown, and where the Music Box and the Merry Widow would like alternate shows.
Yeah.
And we played the Music Box, and like I said, it was our first show ever. Or not our, but my first show with them. They had played at Satori's Coffee House before when it was still a thing. But
I've played there.
we got on stage. Yeah, I guess it was just luck of the draw. You know what I mean? Like I guess we just got lucky. I don't want to, but and we got on stage and we started our first song, and it was like the moment we hit that first beat, it's like you just see these people come in, and like we had the Music Box flooded. I'm talking like the people were outside the door, like listening to us, like that, like they were listening to us. And man, that was a surreal moment. It was my first ever original gig, my first ever like time out.
Were you nervous?
Oh, dude, I threw up. I threw up. I mean, I was 18. I just graduated high school.
Before or after did you throw up?
Both. Both. But no, 100%, man. It was my first time ever taking something that I made. Not a song that...
Were they brownies? Is that what made you throw up?
Right. Did you make the brownies?
I'm seeing a correlation here.
It was the first time I never had to play a song somebody else wrote. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't doing Ain't No Sunshine. I wasn't doing Hotel California for the first time. I was playing my song.
Right.
And it was surreal to have everybody respond to you like that, and just like
that's awesome.
For your first time too.
First time.
And then we also had the like we were talking about earlier before we came in here, we sold out.
There was no reason for me to put background audio in the shorts.
We had a sold out show at the Merry Widow. We played with Slow Degrade, which is doing fantastic right now, going on tours, like 200,000 monthly listeners. These guys are fucking crazy. Hashtag Slow Degrade. Shout out Shane, Mike, Cody, Andre. Love you guys. We played with them, Oversight, and a band called Ego Death. And man, we wore dresses. We had cowboy hats and dresses on. We walked out on stage. We were the opening band. We were still pretty new to the scene, I guess. I wasn't. Neither were they. Mike and Cody play for Slow Degrade, but they also play for my band. Like we're like the boxcar racer to Blink 182. Like aliens do exist would be the boxcar racer to Slow Degrade.
Cliff is living proof that aliens do exist.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But no, playing that sold out show, and obviously we were in dresses. It was just a fun time,
That's
like
awesome, man.
I got up and like flashed my dress up and stuff like that. Just being able to be free and like kind of ignorant and youthful and stuff like
once
that.
again,
It
the
was
vibe.
It was the vibe. Like again, like the vibe was fucking awesome. We nailed the night. All the songs were tight. We didn't screw up once. We had a guest guitar player come on stage. He wore a dress. It was just, it was really fun.
Awesome.
But between those two, I would say those are probably my two favorite performances I've ever had.
Great stuff, man. Great stuff.
How about you,
Me? Oh man. Well, I would say they're all for me. I've played with so many. I've played and Justin knows this. Like I've played and toured with so many musical acts. But I have one kind of like what he was talking about when I was young and I'd moved up to Tuscaloosa. And when did you move to Birmingham? Like in the 90s?
98.
Okay, yeah. So I moved up to go to UA to go to music school in 89. I'm 55, so I'm old guy. And I moved up there and
not bad.
and I was in this little guitar, remember the guitar shop over there?
Yeah.
Jim Ball, who Picker's Paradise later.
Yeah.
And I was in there and this guy came in and saw me playing and found out stalked me, found out everything about me, where I worked, showed up at my work. And the manager came in and said, "Hey man, the guitar player for this band," it was a really big band at the time. This band, remember Bentley Talk?
Yes.
Yeah, they were huge. They were huge.
They were huge.
They
Yeah.
were huge, and they were the singer Papa Algren is like this amazing songwriter, really amazing guy. And we were touring with Driving and Crying and big stuff, And they had an album they had recorded at Ardent Studios with Tom Lonnie, who did part of Joshua Tree for U2 and all this stuff. So here I'm my little punk ass, 19 years old. I didn't know anything about anything. And I'm in there rolling out pizzas at Godfather's. And the guitar player, Che, came in there and was like, "Hey, is Cliff McClure here?" And the manager came and she's like, "The guitar player for Bentley Talk's asking for you." I'm like, "What?" And he comes and he's like, "Hey man, I saw you playing at the guitar shop, man. You want to come audition for our band?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, why not?" And the manager was like, "Remember me when you're famous," because they were huge. They were I didn't even know who they were because I had just moved up there, so I was oblivious. I was so naive, and I went and I auditioned, and they were like, "You're hired, man. If you want this gig." And I was 19. Damn. I was green. I didn't know anything about anything, and I didn't know how good I was, because I had just been practicing in my little room in Mobile. I went to high school here and everything, and I didn't know how good I was. And they were like, "Dude, you're really good." And I was like, "Am I?"
Wow.
And so I remember they said, "Look."
Well, what distinguishes? Sorry. To cut you off.
So they said, "Look, just quit your job. We're going to pay you way more in 2 gigs than you make all month there." And I was like, "Okay." So I did. I quit my job, and they did this massive tour. And so now we get to the point. So that is the thing. It was kind of like what he was talking about.
Got rid of the dough for some dough.
It was our first gig was, these guys were serious. They toured all around stuff. They had management and all that stuff. And our first gig was in Orlando, and I will never forget it as long as I live. Club Spacefish, and it was kind of like the Soul Kitchen, kind of. It was an original venue, and this band, they had songs on the radio, man, and they had people come, 1,000 people in there to come see them. And here's Cliff, 19, green, noob. I had knew nothing about anything. It was my first gig with a band, and in this massive venue in front of 1,000, 1,500 people. Jeez. And I will never forget that. And do you remember Jim O'Fairley, the big giant dude that hung out with Pop? You probably don't, but he's still a really good friend of my day. He was the biggest bouncer in Tuscaloosa. He was the guy. He was 6'5". It looked just like Hagrid, man. It's big giant man. And so I just remember there's all these people, and I'm like him. I was horrified. And I went to get up on the stage, and he looked at me, and he was like, "I got you, man." He's like, well, he called me Slim because I actually used to be Slim. He goes, "I got you, Slim, man. If you freak out, just look at me." And I did. There were times, and I would look over, and he'd be like, yeah. Just picture Hagrid with the hair, that 6'5", giant mountain of a man. And I just remember being like, "Oh my God," and looking forward, and Paco's up there just killing it, because they were used to that. And it was my first gig. Wow. I never played in bands in high school or anything.
You must have felt so cool.
It was insane. It was surreal. Yeah. It was surreal. So that was that's my one big one that I remember.
Hey guys, it's 8:23. I've got a couple more questions, but it's up to you guys.
Go ahead. Come on with them.
So, doing something that you love for your life, I mean, it's such a privilege to live off of that, and even with a job on the side to still be able to maintain it. But do you ever get burnt out?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Absolutely, man. There's been plenty of times where I've had gigs that have been like I've had to work 8 days in a row just to have my schedule line up with me having to go play a gig, and that's tiring, man. You know, that's 80 hours that I just worked, and now I'm having to.
I don't even know how you do it.
Go and play gigs. Like, I mean, I work pretty late. I mean, haberdasher, I'm in the kitchen. So, I mean, like, we don't close till midnight sometimes. I mean, I'm out super late, and then, you know, I work all those hours. I get home, and then the next 3 days, I don't really have off days. I'm traveling to Orange Beach, or I'm going to Ocean Springs. Or,
so tonight I'll get off at 2 a.m. and then I've got I'm playing in the morning on the beach in front of the Florabama, and so I've got just a few hours to to get, you know, I've only got, you know, roughly I'm going to have 4 hours of sleep, and then I'm going to go on stage tomorrow for 8 total.
If that.
Yeah.
Probably won't even sleep
And if
4 hours.
somebody calls me to do a third one tomorrow, I'm going to go do that too.
Yeah.
So I'll get off tomorrow night at 9 o'clock at Coastal in Orange Beach. But you know, if they ask me to do 10 to 2 in the main room at the Florabama, I'm driving to the Florabama and I'm going to do 10 to 2.
I mean, of the three of us, he's definitely the workhorse.
What's it like being the king of Florabama?
The king of Florabama.
I don't know if they give that title to anybody.
I don't think that I'm deserving of that title, but I would. It would be worth aspiring to. You know, the people there are absolutely beautiful, and
there's a lot of people that have come
and really kind
in the past. You know,
the people that work there. You know, they drill service into everybody, but I mean, the reality is they're actually really nice. A friend of mine the other day was saying, "Well, I hear there are rednecks at the Florabama." I was like, "I was a philosophy major in school. You know, I'm not a redneck.
Right.
I played there as much as anybody.
Yeah.
You know, nothing about me says redneck. I went to Spring Hill.
Right.
You know, I'm not a redneck. You know, but you know that's kind of a they had at one point in time kind of a reputation for being, and the term redneck would polarize most people, but my bands are not in any way at all. My song selection is not in any way at all redneck. You know, I do love country music and I do play it, and I'm happy to.
And he's friends with some of the
best country
play, and he just
like Kyle Wilson that you've
Wilson.
been playing with lately.
Yeah, he hooked me in with this
Kyle.
ridiculous, utterly ridiculous guitar player, singer, country guy, like a real deal, man. Like just. He did that. He hooked me into that gig, and I played like 3 gigs with him last week.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing about the Florabama, a little off topic, but kind of still related, is like when you're a musician like us and you go in there, and me and Justin have obviously been doing a lot longer than him, you start to realize, like, you see the older music, you see the generations of people that have come through there,
Absolutely.
you know, and that's like really cool when you finally realize that you're like part of that legacy.
One of my proudest moments at the Florabama was when Jay Hawkins, he called me to come play with James called me to play with him. Like, he built the first stage at the Florabama.
Yeah.
In 1979, played on it that night, you know, and he called me to come play with him. And I was just like, wow, man, I get to be a part of the real thing, you know, not, I mean, the legacy, the lore,
the legacy.
You know, the people. He still plays there, I guess, every Saturday during the day. You know,
there'll be dudes and men and women there that have written all kinds of like #1s, and they're still up there, and they're in their like late 60s, 70s, and they're in there.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool, man.
It really is.
Awesome.
The community is amazing. That might be my favorite thing.
It's as full circle as Justin coming back to Spring Hill for a podcast.
Yeah, it is.
And to end on that note, what's your favorite memory from Spring Hill?
My favorite memory from Spring Hill?
I think it was the one you were telling me about earlier. But I don't know if we could talk about that on the podcast.
You can talk about it.
Oh, man.
My favorite memory from Spring Hill was...
Did you ever see any bands here when you were young?
Well, yes, I did. I saw bands here, but I was thinking more like... I remember having a conversation with Father Harmless, who was my...
that was his name?
Wow.
Yes. And
yeah, there were some fathers and priests and monsignors.
But
there were some fathers and stuff in the school that... There was one that I was counseled by who was... I can't remember his name right now. it'll come to me. But anyway, amazing. So I'm
So
assuming that's
Father
where you're
Harmless,
going.
I was asking him for life advice, and I said, hey, here I am, 18 years old, and I'm, in the school, and I think I'm in over my head, and
Which year was it?
this would have been 1992,
Gotcha.
and I asked him, what did you want to do when you were my age? And he said, well, I always wanted to be fluent in Hebrew and Latin and Greek and English. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, I wanted to write my own translation of the Bible. Wow. And I was like, and I said, oh. And then I was thinking, that must have been like his hobby or something, aside from being a Jesuit priest. And I said, did you do that? And he grabbed the Bible out of my hand, turned it to the page, and said, "That's
no way."
Wow. He was on the team that did the New American Bible at the time, and I remember thinking like,
that's amazing.
He's an actual apostle,
right?
Like the Jesuits trace their lineage to every person's name on the roster back to the first 12 apostles.
Damn.
And I remember just being like going, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how serious life really is.
Right.
You have the opportunity to be an actual person, an actual apostle, if you want to be, if you're called to be.
Right.
You can be whatever you want. And that moment really highlighted, underscored, exclamation pointed that notion to me. Like,
that's inspiring, man.
At 18 years old, I knew that
a wow moment.
all I wanted to do was write songs and perform them and connect.
Absolutely.
Now you need to learn your songs in Hebrew.
Yeah, man.
He comes from a musical family.
Yeah, I come from.
I don't know about you. I know
come
you
from
got
lineage.
a lot of professionals, and you're above you, and your parents stuff. I'm the same way. Like, there's no music except for my mom, but I come from a family full of like civil engineers and like real technical. Go to college and get.
Right.
And I was the first one to just be like, I want to play bass, and they're like, wait, what does the
You're gonna do
matter
what?
with you?
Yeah.
Now for the story that you had recalled him telling.
No,
you.
we're not going to talk about that.
It's classified information.
Fair enough, as it should be. Thank you guys so much. It's beyond me to say how much of a privilege it is for you guys to come on this podcast and share your knowledge. And
thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciated the opportunity.
Ultra grateful for you guys, and best of luck at Brickyard.
Thanks. It's going to be a great night.
It's going to be a fantastic night.
Absolutely.
I've played here a few times. It's always been a fun time. There's always good beer, nice women.
Noel Broughton is
live music. Shout out Noel. Love Noel.
Yeah, he is a absolute.
I'd love to have him on here.
I'd love for him to get here, but
you want to hear some stories.
He has.
Oh shit.
He has been a bigger influence probably on mobile music than I can anybody in my generation that I can think of.
Noel, if I'm not mistaken, owned Grand Central, correct?
I don't know about Grand Central. I know he owned Monsoons.
Monsoons, that's what it was. Monsoons.
Let's get him on here.
Yeah, no. Noel's like definitely legacy of Mobile. My dad used to deal with Noel Broughton booking gigs downtown. And I deal with Noel now. So really it's cool. Like, wow.
He came from a musical family and just always loved music, and so he his mom DG and Jet were they had a band, and so Noel really just embraced the culture, helped to support it. Like, when people say, I support live music, I'm like, so you did pay the cover to get in, Because that's what I think of when I think of support. Like,
it's a business. This is a business.
It's not just a business. It takes way more hours than people are willing to. So many people are willing to put into
it's an
it.
iceberg. You just see the little tip.
Yeah. Absolutely.
When people see you, they see the absolute tip. There's thousands of levels below that tip that takes into doing all this equipment.
And Noel has always supported it. He's always hired local musicians and always brought us in and under his wing and helped to support us.
Yeah, absolutely. He's always given us a platform.
As you get older, you realize the business side of it more. Yeah, and you realize like what Noel has done. Like, you can't imagine the countless hours I'm sure that
he's spent. Yeah,
he's given us all an opportunity to show ourselves and put ourselves out there, and that's the one of the battles you have to fight to even start most of this is having the opportunity to be able to perform. And
So
it's very important.
We're lucky to be able to go play at Brickyard tonight.
Yep.
Thanks, Noel. Appreciate it, brother.
Shout out Noel.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode on the Gulf Coast Music Podcast. I was so grateful to have Justin Fobes, Clint, and Kane on my podcast. And
Thank you, Quincy.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks, man.
Quincy.
go check them out at the Brickyard and at Cobalt on Sundays in Orange Beach.
And tomorrow morning on the beach at Florabama.
July 23rd at the Handlebar.
There we go.
There you
Plug
go.
them all.
This camera. Tell us what you got going
See you
on.
guys in the next wave.
Welcome to the Gulf Coast. Welcome to the Gulf Coast. Welcome to the Gulf Coast.